Is that the September song?
Oh, something of September.
Yeah. I don't know
Do
which
you
date
remember? I can't.
though. Yeah.
No.
Does that work?
No.
No.
Jesus. All right, I'm focused. Jeez.
Hello.
Hi.
So those of you who've seen episode 1 and 2, you might notice that we're in a different location now, White Walls. And when this was brought to our attention, we were like, how can we bring the quirky, fun energy that we had in the space? And we were like, we need to invite Bob. So,
it's me.
Yes. So thank you for bringing in the energy.
You're welcome.
Amazing. So Bob is an actor, model, narrator, improviser, and all-around good guy.
Hey. That's a great introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on the show.
I'm excited. I'm honored.
Do you remember how we met?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Do you really?
I like you're making it sound like it was some kind of spy thing that happened. Do you remember when we were in Moscow on that night? Yeah, it was at a pirate show.
Yes, it was.
When I met you that first night and you talked about the intimacy, direction, coordination, it's just something that's not here in Japan. So that really kind of interested me right away.
Like instantly connected me to Lilou.
Yeah, nobody can see her.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's just only us. It's only us. She's here, though.
She is here.
And of course, knowing Lilou and knowing what kind of thing that she wants to do and bring to the industry here, yeah, it was an easy match for the two of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was such a great introduction. And it was so nice to meet you that day as well.
Thank you. I'm glad I didn't get lost in the Lilou-ness of it all.
The Lilou-ness of it all. No, absolutely. I was very much in the Bob-ness of
Nice.
it as well. So Pirates of Tokyo Bay is an improv comedy group. And you've been there for how long?
I've been there for more than 10 years, maybe less than 15. That's a really good question. You see, this is the problem right now, is that like Corona happened.
Yeah.
And now like time doesn't make any sense to me anymore. And then I feel like
doing it during COVID, right?
we did online.
Oh, wow.
We tried that. It didn't go that well because it's really hard to improvise when you're all at home doing Zoom.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, come with me over here. Oh, right. I'm by myself in my room and you're by yourself in your room.
Yeah.
So it didn't really work, but we tried it.
I mean, it still must have brought a lot of joy to people. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah, the Pirates actually do have a lot of fans that have been coming for a long time and come to the shows a lot of time. So I think it was they're stuck at home and they're like, I can't go see a show. So they were able to come see a show kind of.
Yeah.
But from their home as well.
Yeah. I remember watching the show and I just thought, because it was a while since I've seen improv at a professional level too, and I really enjoyed it. And I just thought you and the other members, all of you, are so smart, so fast, quick on your feet.
Yeah.
One of the many talents of you going into improv first. How did you get into improv?
Well, I actually hated improv.
You hated improv
when I was in university. Like I hated it because I thought stage acting was like the purest form of acting. I didn't
like drama.
Well, just being on stage.
Yeah.
Like not movies, not TV, nothing else. And then when people started doing improv and they didn't have a script or anything, and I just didn't understand why would you not have a script? That doesn't make any sense. Like you have a script, you rehearse it, you make a character, and you do these choices, and that's how you perform. And so I didn't get it. And I think like with improv, if it's good, it's good. And if it's bad, it is so bad. And like you don't want to watch it, you don't want to be a part of it. So I think that I saw bad improv.
Like the joke doesn't land kind of way, or?
I think some people, when they do improv, they think that they have to be funny. But there is still a performance to it. You still want characters. You still want believability. You can have people cry at an improv show. That's fine. But I think a lot of people think, no, I need to say a joke. So then they'll just say something, either over the top or overly sexual, just because they think they'll get a laugh out of people if they say something,
Yeah.
about somebody's body parts or whatever, And so I didn't like it. But a friend of mine here in Japan, she was going back home to the States. She was in a different improv group. I'm also a member of that other improv group as well. And she was leaving, so they needed a new cast member. So she suggested me. I had never done improv before, but the leader of that group had seen me do plays.
Oh.
So he said, you need to come to my workshop.
You need to come to
Yeah, there was no, yeah.
I demand you. Saw a talent there for sure.
Come to my workshop. And I did, but I learned a lot. I learned things that I didn't realize, but it took me a while. Like the first year that I did improv, I was not good. Not good. Like I didn't know, like you said, like you were smart when you talked about the members of the Pirates. Like my first year, like I felt like everybody on stage around me was smart.
Oh,
and I was slow.
I'm sure that wasn't true, but I get that feeling as well, like the imposter syndrome or whatever.
Well, I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like I was like, how do they know what to say?
Yeah.
Because I'm still on the.
I'm sure there's a training to it too.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to get used to it.
And we practiced as improvisers together.
Yes.
And I remember somebody one time was like, "What do you practice?"
Yeah, you have rehearsals, right?
We have practice.
You have practice. You call them practice.
Rehearsals. You have the script.
Wait, is it really? You call them practice?
We do, but
okay.
This makes me laugh because I remember when I first started acting, like I think my senior year of high school was the first time I ever acted. And somebody was like, "Oh, are you going to practice?" And I remember one of the people that was like in the theater for a while, and she was like, "Athletes practice. We rehearse." And I'll never forget that. I mean, that was,
I feel like that should be written on a t-shirt.
It probably is, or it will be once people watch this episode.
Yeah. What do you think you enjoy most about it?
The freedom, but also there's a fear associated with it, or like, because you don't know what's going to happen. And that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what that person's going to say. You might go on stage and be like, "Oh, I'm going to be this." And then the other person starts speaking first. And now the scene has changed from what I was thinking in my mind. So that is really exciting because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And every show is different. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I do 3 shows a month, 3 different groups, and I can't get enough of improv.
I feel like improvisation thrives on like having the room to explore. But what kind of environment or situation do you think helps improvisers do their best work?
This kind of relates, I think, more to what you do. But I went to a workshop recently. Like, there's not many English workshops for acting or improvisation. So one thing that happened at the beginning of the workshop was he said, we're going to go around the room and talk to everybody. And then I want you to tell me, like, where you're okay being touched. Because when you're in a scene, you don't know what's going to happen in that scene. We talked about that. You never know what's going to happen in a scene. And even some people might not want to have you touch their shoulder or not want to touch their waist. So it's like, where are you comfortable being touched and what is off limits? And I hadn't really thought about that. And at that moment, I was like, that is really important because you don't want to make the person you're acting with or improvising with, you don't want to make them uncomfortable. What they're comfortable with. So when you talk about like being comfortable, what environment like helps you grow, it's understanding how you both work together.
Yeah.
In a way, and knowing like, okay, when I'm performing with this person, I shouldn't go in that direction because they're not going to be comfortable, and then it's going to be an uncomfortable scene for us and for everybody watching. So knowing all of those things actually makes it really comfortable. I'm pretty easy to work with. I really don't care if somebody goes really dark humor, if somebody goes really blue humor, if somebody has really PG humor. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm pretty easy-go-lucky. So I think like making sure before you, and it's kind of fun to say, or kind of interesting, we say before you play with someone, when you're acting with them or improvising
absolutely,
with them, before you play with them, to make sure to know what their boundaries are.
Yeah.
And again, these are things that I really never thought about because I'm older.
These words are kind of introduced recently, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Boundaries and yeah.
I'm from a different era.
You don't look like
I'm from a long time ago when people could do whatever, no, when men could do whatever they want. That's what's more accurate.
And also talking about that, and you mentioned my work too, but it's really the same where it's like knowing boundaries and knowing people's comfort levels beforehand helps a lot. And sometimes we call, in our work, in intimacy direction and coordination work, containers. So in that sense, like you were saying, like playing, so like knowing the containers and then you can play within that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Containers.
So getting to acting.
Sure.
Have you acted on an intimacy scene?
Oh, yeah.
What is that? Oh, yeah, with very big open eyes.
I know. That was bad. That was bad.
No.
Like, I think,
it means you had many, or it means you had a memorable...
Yes and yes.
Yeah. As an actor, how have you felt going into these scenes with intimacy?
I mean, I think it's hard to say. And I mean, the reason why it's hard to say is just because I'm a man.
Period.
That was a weird way to put it. I'm a man. But I'm from a different generation, right? So I'm not from the generation of thinking about how people feel or if people are comfortable or not. So growing up, in the 80s, watching TV or watching movies. So like the first time like I had to do a scene in a movie or a film where it was an intimate scene and there was nudity involved, there was, simulated lovemaking, all that kind of stuff. I was just like, yeah, like I'm a guy and I'm going to get naked with a woman. Like that was how I was thinking because that's what I grew up with, like, yeah, score. Hey, all right, I did it.
Yeah.
And I never thought about at that time, like how comfortable they would feel or how comfortable I would feel. Because it's also like...
You wouldn't even question yourself, right?
Well, no, I'm a man. I'm supposed to do it, right? That, you should be happy about this, Go in there and kiss that girl. Go in there and do that, hey. Mm-hmm. But I was also, I guess, lucky in a way that the first few times that I'd ever done it, I've never been in a large production or like a big set with like, 30 people or something like that when you're doing an intimate scene. I've never had that. Mm-hmm. So the first time I did it was me, the actress, and the director / cameraman.
Right, that's the ideal close set, actually. So that's great.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah,
it's still new to me. Yeah. But that is at that time, that made it kind of comfortable in a way because I only had those other people there with me, the person I was acting with and the director. So, but I never really thought of it until later, actually. Which, I mean, I wasn't thinking about this, but I just recently did a feature film. Mm-hmm. And it was an independent feature film. And there was a scene where I was going to be in a hot tub with 4 ladies.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be like, we're rich and doing, whatever, like a big party.
All these
and
hot
drinking.
spring scenes in Japan.
Right.
You've
done a lot of those?
I've done some as well.
Well, we'll get back to that. But I just like... If it was me from 15 years ago when I had my first, intimate scene with a woman, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it with a woman. This is great. I wouldn't have thought anything of it. But I'm different now. But when the 4 girls that were going to be in the hot tub with me, all they knew was that they were supposed to bring a bathing suit.
They didn't know they were going to get into the hot spring?
It was just a hot tub. Not the onsen. But they didn't know. And of course, nobody told them. So I was one of the main actors. And I said, I was like, well, thank you for coming out. Do you know what the scene's going to be? And they're like, no, I don't know. So I sat them down and I explained what the scene was.
So it was briefed to you, but not them.
Well, I have the whole script. So I knew everything that was going to be happening.
They were extras.
They were basically extras, yeah. And I sat them down and I said, well, this is what's going to be happening in the scene. And it's supposed to be this kind of crazy party. We have like a lot of money and like we're still wearing our suits. It's me and another guy. So we're still wearing our business suits and you're going to be like in your bikinis and kind of fawning over us. And I said, but if you don't feel comfortable touching me or having me touch you, that's fine.
Yeah.
You tell me that.
Yeah.
And if the directors tell you to do something and you don't feel comfortable about it, tell me and I will stop it because I have the I want to say the power, but I was in the position that I was able to do that.
Yeah, and to just say cut or something.
But I could say, no, they're not comfortable. We're not doing that. You know, but once we talked about that and I said, you know, where is okay to touch you? And, you know, you can touch me anywhere. It's fine for me. But I was like, what is comfortable for you? Or, you know, do you feel comfortable touching me?
Yeah.
Which, again, as the man, I was always like, of course I want to have a woman touch me. But how does the woman feel about having to touch me?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm happy. But what about the actress that's working across me? So
they didn't have an intimacy coordinator on set.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
Even at that point, I still didn't know what an intimacy coordinator was.
Yeah, this was a little back then.
So
before you met me?
Before
I
met you. Yeah.
I was like, you could have called me.
Yeah, before I met you.
Okay, fine.
But I felt like that was something that I did to... Because after
that's great.
Well, after we talked about that, and they were like, oh, I'm comfortable. I'll touch you there, or you can touch me here.
Yeah.
And then we had a great scene.
Yeah. And just to piggy off of that, of like, it's not like you're not trying to police anything. You're just trying to give them context to be like, okay, this, so that they now know what the scene is, what is, you know, being asked of, and like why.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, okay. And then they can give like actual consent, and they can, you know, be more involved, like enthusiastically.
Exactly.
And that's the ideal situation. So that's so great that you created that for them.
And that's why it's so great to have, you know, people like you, intimacy directors, coordinators on set. I think because it makes everybody comfortable, it makes the scenes better, and that's necessary. Really quickly, before I forget, I thought it was so cute when you said to piggy on that instead of
Thank you for. Can I use that in the cut? Because I really wanted to.
Instead of to piggyback on that.
Yeah,
oh, I love that.
To piggy on that.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna start saying it that way.
Please don't.
No, I'm going to. I'm gonna teach everybody that. I'm gonna go to Eikaiwas and just be like, oh, you piggy on that.
Piggy on that. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Sorry. It was in my head the whole time we were talking about that. But yeah, so I think that it's super important. Just thinking about like the first time that I ever had a scene where I actually got naked.
Oh, yes. Tell me more.
Calm down. Calm down. Yeah. It's just, you know, I don't know how to say this or if I even should say it. Like there is also part of like being a man in my mind or the way that I grew up, you know, like to be able to perform. And I'm talking sexually. And I didn't know, like, should I actually be excited in this scene or not? Because people are going to be seeing me. Yeah. So that's not going to be shown in the video, right? I wasn't doing adult films,
right?
But we were simulating sex. I was naked.
Yeah.
And then I was like, if I don't get excited, does that mean I'm not a man? I'm not doing it right? Is that what's supposed to be done? Like, who do I ask? You know what I mean? At that moment, like I wouldn't know like who to ask. And I think if there is like a coordinator on set, that I can be like, hey, what happens here? Like, should I be excited?
Yeah,
if I
you have
get
so
excited,
many questions, right?
Well, yeah. Is it bad to get excited? Is it okay to get excited?
You know what I mean?
Like,
okay, yeah.
Those are the kind of questions. Like, or what if I don't get excited? Is that okay too? You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that I didn't know to ask or to think about at that time. So I didn't know what to do.
It can be a lonely process without, because it's so awkward to ask, and like, who do you ask? And then
I'm working with the actress, so then there's also part of me. Okay, if I'm not excited, she's going to think that I don't think that she's a beautiful woman. Yeah. And then the director is a man. Yeah. And I knew this director really well, and I know that he liked to sleep with lots of women. So, you know, then I was kind of like, well, I can't ask him because he'd be like, well, yeah, you should be. Got to be a man. So it was a really weird situation. Yeah. Like, because it's acting in a way. So I'm kind of showing the feelings, but I was like, I can't feel those feelings 100%. Yeah. In those situations. It's not a comfortable situation.
That's okay. And just to answer, as an intimacy director and coordinator, you would have, ideally, barriers where you can, like, clothing or on your genitals. Yeah. So that, like, you can be in your character and not, like, yourself and pretend and act in that situation. Yeah.
But it was interesting. I mean, because I've never had the ability to work with an
this happens. This is my profession, and it happens.
What's the short form of it? Is it just...
There's no short form.
Yes, there is.
Oh, like IDIC.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're just punishing me now.
I have to say all of it.
You have to say intimacy every time, Bob.
Yeah, please feel free to say
IDIC.
Yeah.
So I've never been able to, have a set with an IDIC or to do a scene. And that would have just made it so much more comfortable. I had a scene, we had a kiss in a scene. And it was the first time that we had ever met.
Yeah.
And then she was just kind of like, I want to kind of get to know you a little bit before we go into the scene. And I want to slowly work up to us kissing before we go into the on set. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. Again, for me, I get to kiss a woman. I was happy, right? But I hadn't thought about like, oh, both people need to be comfortable. Mm. And so we talked to each other and then kind of slowly got closer to each other.
Yeah.
Until we had a kiss. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, okay, now we both felt a little bit more comfortable.
Right.
Her especially. That's what she needed.
Yeah.
For that scene. And I think if there was an IDIC there, that process would have started earlier.
Yeah. And, to not to like hold your hand throughout the whole process, but at least to guide and to coordinate around it. Yeah. And to make sure that you know what you're doing and you don't have to worry about what the other person is feeling. Because that's a lot of the case. Because people are kind and people are, aware of the other actor and being like, is that okay? Is this okay? But once that's cleared, and then actors have the confidence to, do the choreography. So I totally understand that situation and needing that like emotional support or the emotional connection or wanting the emotional connection to do that. Yeah.
My brain, I can't focus very well. And I'm just thinking about you. I'm just thinking of you holding our hands as we're doing a kissing scene and just the camera's still on us and you're still there. Okay, good job.
Okay, now.
Good job. And that's just, in my mind, that's just the perfect scene right there. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Holding hands and the
but you're still there. I'm holding your hands, guys. I'm the IDIC. You can do it. What are the challenges that you faced trying to bring IDIC to Japan?
That's such a great question.
I know. I don't even have a little clipboard in front of me.
I think really recognizing this job as, and this is like also the point of why I do this podcast, of like a positive thing rather than like a harassment police.
Okay.
Which is like, we are in a position of being able to advocate for safety, and being able to advocate for boundaries. So of course we'll do that. But I think in Japan, because there are a lot of harassment problems and, in the news and like there's been a lot lately, we tend to look at it that way. But once harassment is like on one person of like the ID or IC, it really doesn't solve any problems. If anything, it makes it worse because we're not really solving the core of the problem of where it's like you need the whole production to look at what's wrong. Versus like if you go to the ID or IC, it's like almost like putting a bandage on the actual problem, right? So really acknowledging and shifting that perspective of like, okay, this is a job where the communication flows nicely. Actors know the context of the scene, are given the context of the scene. And there's a specific person that has a very specific training for this specific thing that can help communicate around these scenes that can be otherwise awkward. Yeah. And that's a really like exciting thing.
Now, I watched the first episode and you talked about there's only 4 IDICs or
maybe many.
But okay, at that time, there was only 4. Of those 4, are they all women or presenting as females?
Yes.
So do you think that is a quality that's needed for IDIC?
I would love to see male IDs and ICs for
Yeah.
sure. And I know there will be more. But it is something I think it also because in the US also really started being recognized from the Me Too movement.
Right.
So there has always been that kind of sort of angle.
Sure.
But I think we're like, as a movement too, we need to shift it is in a very positive and like giving people the confidence versus like a, a shielding, protecting kind of way.
Well, I know we were talking about me today because I was the guest,
Yes.
but I think it's just so important what you're doing and what you're bringing
Thank
to Japan.
you.
And I hope that it continues to grow and that you continue to make people understand how necessary you are and how necessary IDICs are. So thank you.
Thank you, Bob. That means so much. And I really hope we get to work together. So next time you find yourself in a hot tub, do not, well, okay, on a production.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
We're so, as intimacy directors and coordinators, we're so used to this language that we don't give
Yeah.
a second thought. So I apologize.
We're all comfortable.
Okay.
And thank you for making us
giving
feel
me
comfortable.
consent. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Okay, last question.
Uh-oh.
And I mentioned this to you before, but on this podcast, I like to ask the guests
Yeah.
what their dream projects are and just let it into the world and see what happens. So if there's any dream project, we would love to know.
One thing that I would really love to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it would ever be able to happen in Japan, but is to be on a sitcom.
Ooh.
I do a lot of comedy, and I don't know if that means that I should always do comedy or not, but that just seems to be where I go a lot of the time. And I would love to be on a sitcom. And some people talk about, well, you're going to do the same character over and over and blah, blah, blah. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I would love to go in every week, do
And
the
be
table
someone,
read.
yeah.
And do that character. And it can be silly. It can be, not that realistic sometimes, but I would just love that. I know it's not really possible here in Japan for especially an English sitcom.
Who knows?
Or just to do a really, really, really dark character.
You're going different directions,
I know.
Bob, but amazing.
Well, you said dream or dreams. So,
Yes, absolutely. Have multiple dreams.
because I do I do a lot of
Yes, you do.
this is something since like childhood makes me still laugh. So I do a lot of comedy, but I would love to not always do comedy and show that maybe I could do something a bit more
Yeah.
serious or a bit more evil or, a bit more, something with more meat to it. I really want that. And I don't have the opportunities as much in Japan, but that is definitely something that I would want to do. Either a sitcom or a really meaty, scary thriller, psychological thing. Whatever.
I love it. We'll do both for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Mixed together though, it's like
I don't know if anybody wants to watch that sitcom. Of the, no,
dark
no.
sitcom kind of.
You know what? Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Put
feel
put that into the ether.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. All right.